What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is Biscuit. Today, we're reacting to a video uploaded by the one, the only, Squirreltactics, in the context of the King of the Hill revival. Now, I have actually watched and made a reaction video to the first episode of the new season. Unfortunately, it got majorly copy claimed by Disney, and I let YouTube do some auto editing to it, and now it's kind of all janky. But I ended up uploading it anyway, but it is currently unlisted. So I will put the link to that in the description so that anyone who wants to watch at least half of what was originally supposed to be there, then you may feel free to do so. Obviously, due to how janky the YouTube auto edits were with regards to removing copywritten material, you might be confused as to what goes on or what's being said by me at least. But here, I wanted to at least give some thoughts to the actual episode itself. And here we will have Squirreltactics, who also watched it, who has been keeping up with all sorts of King of the Hill related stuff, and I wanted to give credit where credit is due, give props to the makers of King of the Hill, also give a shout out to Squirreltactics here for the video that we're about to watch. I'll be sure to make it as transformative as possible, but before we get started, make sure you guys go check out Squirreltactics and watch all of his videos. He makes a lot of King of the Hill related stuff and does a lot of deep dives into the characters and even the messy timeline, attempting to make sense of a show with no real continuity, but still has some continuity, but it's all, you know, typical cartoon logic. And when you're done with that, make sure you come back to watch this video afterwards, and then leave likes, subs, comments, sharing, and all that, the notifications, and let's see what he has to say about the episode. And then I can give my 2 cents as well.
The wait is finally over. After 15 years, we have a new season of the show, but is the first episode a grand return, a whimpering entrance, or some sort of amalgamated combination of the two?
I saw it. It was insane. I'm not gonna lie. It was crazy. If you guys want to watch it, as I said, link in the description, only it's like very jumbled. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. I also watched the second episode just on my own because I don't want to have to deal with all the editing and stuff if it's just going to get copy claimed. But I know that Johnny Two Cellos was a big fan of it, so I want to see how Squirreltactics here feels as well.
Let's find out.
You have got about 4 years left in your water heater, and I left a pamphlet about solar panels by the stove. Best, Brian.
Solar panels? What other religious propaganda did they leave?
Oh, I remember that. No. Unfortunately, YouTube kind of cut that part of the reaction out, so...
You're back.
Yep.
The Return of the King. The title comes from the third book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it's also a...
I thought that I recognized the title of it being Return of the King.
Reference to this being the show's first new episode since Just Another Manic Con Day in 2010. The series picks up 8 years after the end of the original run, making Bobby 21 and Hank and Peggy around 50. They've been off living in an American community in Saudi Arabia. Apparently that's a real thing, especially with Aramco, who is the company Hank worked for when he was over there. And they've made enough money to retire, so they've come back to Texas. So we start off with the Hills on the plane heading into Dallas. Hank is in the bathroom recreating all those uncomfortable Tom Hanks Green Mile peeing scenes.
I know. No, when I saw that the first time, I was like, no way they started off with the narrow urethra joke. That was insane. And then Peggy has to be a blabbermouth.
All while Peggy marvels the people waiting in line to use said bathroom by sharing that Hank has a narrow urethra and apparently it has gotten worse with age. This, of course, embarrasses Hank, but you know, what else is new? Interesting choice to start off this whole shebang with just the sound of Hank Hill trying to pee.
No shit. No, I was like, wait, what is that sound?
Oh, God.
I guess it's to set the tone that this is a more adult version of the show. They finally land and make it into the airport. Hank, of course, has to kiss the ground like Robin Hood returning from the Third Crusade. And you start to notice that the shops in the airport, which I'm guessing is DFW, are all luxury brands with foreign or foreign-sounding.
Yeah, this is what I mentioned this when I was trying to make the recording. There was all these high-end fashion places that I'm sure, like, I know about Chanel and Gucci and Sephora. Sephora's been around for a while, though.
names. I could be wrong on this, but this is pretty much what every major airport I've been in looks like for at least the last 20 years. So that's really not that new, but I could see it being new-ish to Hank. They get the in-universe version of an Uber known as a Trip. Yeah, I could see that as an actual company name.
Trip, yeah. In the reaction that I made, before it got edited down. I forgot that this was what it was called.
For ride sharing. And notice the address he puts in is 84 Rainy Street, which is one of the addresses given to the Hill House in the original run. It was typically given as 123 Rainy Street, but whatever. And I find it odd that they would take an Uber or a taxi for the trip from Dallas to Arlen, which we all know is 96 miles, and could cost them upwards of a couple $100 apparently.
Yeah, I tried. There was this one time where I thought about taking an Uber from one city where I lived to another that was very far away, and it was like hundreds of bucks. And I was like, because I didn't want to take my parents' car all the way out there, but, you know.
Apparently Hank made really good Saudi money. We see that Peggy is still on a genocidal quest to systematically murder every language. This time it's Arabic.
Right, no, I remember Peggy saying that Shabbat Alohem or something like that, and this guy right here was completely confused. Yep, Peggy's still not knowing anything, not even her own language, let's be real.
Yes, I should point out that she cannot for the life of her properly pronounce Saudi Arabia.
Since we've been living in Garb.
Oh my god, no, that was one of the running gags that Peggy was doing. She kept pronouncing it Saudi Arabia, which I made the comparison to Jedi, but pronouncing Arabia as Arabia is bizarre to me.
Alderan, Saudi Arabia.
She, of course, has to correct a Saudi native speaker because she knows best. It's Peggy. What else would we expect? Anywho, Hank gets confused by bathrooms when he stops to get a taco to go and use the restroom. These both look like single-use bathrooms. The little thing there says if it's vacant or not, so it wouldn't really matter which one you use, but it gives us more.
Oh, I didn't even think about that the first time. Like, I knew what the subtext was. I knew what they were going for with this, but I didn't realize that they seemed to be just one and done.
Hank being put off by the changes that he's seen. Also, the rideshare car keeps shutting off at red lights, something else that throws Hank off, and yeah, I get that. I personally just figured out how to turn it off on my vehicle.
Muhammad, if I were you, I'd get that idle checked.
Right. One of the things that was there is that he was driving a hybrid car, so it does that on its own.
They finally make it home, where we see the scene from one of the teasers where Hank gives Muhammad, their driver, 4 stars, even though he did a great job. Hank, of course, not realizing that for a lot of 5-star systems, anything other than 5 stars may as well be 0 stars.
No
I
shit.
get that.
No, this is something that my mom has made mention. She has an eBay, and she knows that even one bad review can sully your reputation forever. So she always makes sure that whoever leaves the review comes back a bit happier customer. She will always make sure she's one of those the customer is always right types of people.
5 stars should be for exceptional service, but that's not how the powers that be see it. And considering they kind of run everything, whether any of us like it or not,
No, I remember seeing this and I remember thinking to myself, bitch.
pretty irrelevant. While they were gone, a man named Brian and his family had lived in the house. We meet him later on. He's the guy everybody was speculating about, and he's voiced by Keith David. I don't need to know anything about this guy other than he's voiced by Keith David, and I immediately like him.
I don't know anything about Keith David. I don't keep up with live action and actors and actresses and stuff.
It's the power of Keith David. Granted, he may or may not be the thing, but that's for you to decide. We're then introduced to Robata Chain, the Japanese-German fusion restaurant where Bobby works as head chef.
Right.
That's about...
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, here he goes. The goat who, it's not your purse. He doesn't know you, okay?
We're literally just introduced to the place. Keep in mind, this was an establishing episode more than anything else. Hank goes out to have a beer in the alley and comes across Boomhauer and his girlfriend's son, Luke Jr., who doesn't understand what Boomhauer says, continuing that running joke.
Right, one of the jokes I made in my video was that there was that Marlene chick that Boomhauer dated way back when, and she was all like, okay, first of all, I only understand half of what you say. And that was the episode where she was kind of leading him on, and he ended up getting heartbroken.
And we see that Nancy and John Redcorn apparently run a real estate YouTube channel about Arlen, which, yeah, that checks out. There's a bunch of those for pretty much every city. And yes, they may be back to their old...
Oh, and then this down here. Here, let me move that out of the way. When I saw this for the first time, I was like, oh my god, that is fucking perfect. And I just realized that's literally Doggy. Is this Connor Min? Because that's literally their dog, Doggy.
Ways, and at least one person in the comment section noticed that they had more than just professional chemistry. We get more of Bobby at the restaurant. This time he's serving what appear to be a group of college kids who end up inviting Bobby out to a party after he gets off. Unfortunately,
one of the things that happened within that scene was that they seem to have been bothered by the fact that Bobby didn't go to college, which... I made some other comments at that scene. I don't remember if YouTube removed them, though.
takes longer than he would hope because he has to clean up the place and ends up showing up late to the party. But it still works out as he cooks up some food for everyone. It's always nice to have a chef at a house party. That's not a joke. I know this from experience. It is awesome. Bobby's experience is also awesome as he spends the night with the girl he came to the party to.
Yeah, this face. I remember thinking to myself, this face said it all when she decided to go topless.
Meet up with, and of course, they butt dial Peggy while making out.
Hello, Bobby. Hello. It's me. Hello. Did you butt dial me by accident? Can you hear me? I can't. Are you eating something?
Hank gets his truck out of storage. Knowing him, he already made sure that nothing had gone wrong or rotted in his time away. Maybe he got someone to do regular maintenance on it, who knows. But as he's driving, he notices bike lanes and medians all over the place, making it much...
Oh yeah, this is something that I commented on. I think YouTube cut this part out for me. No, I've seen these types of things like almost all over where I live. Granted, there are some that are designated U-turn spots. My mom says that they're sometimes called U's, but you'll find signs everywhere that says that U-turns are illegal across the city. Yet I still find people doing U-turns at these intersections, even though there are signs just like this right next to them that says you can't do it. And then whenever I'm on the highway, I see the signs that have these types of turns within them that say that they're only for emergencies. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm almost out of gas, and the nearest gas station is behind me. I'd consider that an emergency.
More difficult to just make a turn. The median springing up instead of turn lanes thing is kind of irritating. I've noticed it myself. There's typically no point to them, and they just get in the way.
I just had to drive 5 blocks, make a left turn, then go around 2 more blocks and come back just to not make an illegal U-turn into our alley. This is ridiculous. That's an extra mile of driving anytime we come home from anywhere to the south. Green my ass.
Also,
No
Hank's
shit.
lucky because putting gates at the end of alleys has very much become a growing trend. Every time you come home, having to get out of the car, open the gate, drive through, close the gate,
Oh,
yeah.
good lord. Hank would be very flustered by this.
Not have stood for that very long. This is when Peggy brings up the idea of going back to Saudi Arabia, something that starts to become more common as the episode progresses. Bobby finds out that the girl he hooked up with only wanted a hookup, so he goes about his merry way, doing what used to be known as the walk of shame. I don't know what you call it nowadays.
I wouldn't know either. I mean, these days it's not shameful, it's empowering, at least if you're a female.
Of the dorm where he runs into Connie doing the exact same thing. We learn that she's attending...
Oh, I figured that was what was going on. She was visiting a friend. So yeah, I guess I'm assuming that she was doing the hanky-panky as well.
UT Dallas, more specifically the Eric Johnson School of Engineering and Computer Science, which is very much a real thing. So at some point, the two of them stop talking to each other, though it's not clear as to when or why. Maybe that gets covered later. But as of this point, we don't know. But we do know that Connie knows about Bobby being a chef, and he invites her to his restaurant. We also established that Joseph is Bobby's roommate. Keith David's Brian Robertson finally...
Yeah, we got to see Joseph in the next episode after this one.
He gets formally introduced when the guys are out in the alley drinking coffee. That's a little different. And we get to see what happened to Bill. Seems he became a shut-in around 2020 and hasn't left his house since. Yeah, Bill let himself go without Hank being around to watch over him. I mean, at least he's
No shit. Something that I mentioned to myself was that Hank is the one who decides everything for Bill. Bill's not allowed to make his own decisions because he ends up doing things that end up ruining everyone else's time, including his own.
And he very much is still the same Bill. Well, maybe not visually.
Oh no, what are you doing in there?
Oh, a lot of streaming. I finished Netflix, Hank. Yeah. Did you know that when you get to the end of Netflix, you get something called a wellness check?
Hank
Yeah, he supposedly viewed the entire catalog, which to me seems like the fact that he had that much free time.
proclaims that they're going to get Bill back to normal, and we get Dale's introduction. He's hiding in a trash can, along with the news that, for 36 hours at least before he denied the results of the election that he won, with 9% of the vote, seriously, voter turnout is embarrassingly low in local elections. He was mayor of Arlen, and I love this photo because he looks absolutely mortified that...
Right, I remember reading this out loud to myself. I'm probably not going to read it again, though.
He actually won. Hell, he probably became an election denier just to get out of office. He also apparently stole the social security number of a dead 4-year-old. They made sure to mention that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you know damn well that he's not going to use his real identity in something like this, which is why he stole the identity of Rusty Shackelford, who he thought had died, but actually just moved away. But in this case, this 4-year-old he allegedly stole actually did die.
At night, Hank and Peggy have a discussion about whether Texas had changed too much while they were gone, and whether they should go back to Saudi Arabia. This is complete with a flashback to their life there, complete with what looked to be servants, something I'm surprised Hank was on board with. The community was set up to be the utopian ideal of what America is. And
Yeah, Hank had said that he wonders if that was what America was like in the 60s. At least I think that's what he said. And then, of course, Peggy had to say, well, in the 60s, they didn't have the things that we have now, or something like that. Or maybe it was either 60s or 50s. I don't remember what.
a good amount of why they're considering a return. Also, for those wondering, a rial, the Saudi Arabian currency, is worth about 27 cents. And fun fact, the Saudi rial is divided into 100 halalas. They consider the idea of going back, but Hank confirms his wish to stay in America. He's even offered a 3-year contract by Aramco to convert an oil tanker to propane, something he really wants to do, as well as all kind of other things, including a new wife.
Okay, how about
Yeah, this guy on the phone kept hammering in the idea that they could give Hank a new wife, which I don't really want to comment on that.
the bigger house with a bowling alley?
Oh, wow.
We can give you a new wife.
She can hear you, sir.
But Hank, who has been watching Bill trying in vain to get a delivered package off his roof without leaving his room, still isn't convinced. They drive through town, Hank decrying all the reflectors and questioning what the hell poke is, which I guess...
No, I noticed that too. I was like, no, the one thing I did notice was this old decrepit Alamo sign.
is actually poke, and it's a Hawaiian restaurant.
Okay, so it's Hawaiian. Well, Hank should know, considering that he's a big fan of David Kalaiki Alai, the flying Hawaiian.
He also sees billboards about microaggressions and dear
You gotta watch your microaggressions, bro, because I'm PC principal. Yeah, I made that joke in my video as well. I do not remember what YouTube cut out, so I'm going to repeat some of the things that I had said within it, just in case you guys don't click on the link, or just in case they happen to be removed. And regarding Oklahoma style, I don't know if you know anything about Alabaster Jones, the Mac Daddy of OKC, but he's from Oklahoma.
God, Oklahoma barbecue? And after running over some of the earlier mentioned reflectors that he loves oh so much, as he has a slight conniption fit pulling into the parking lot of Megalomart, who's still Megalomart because Megalomart doesn't change.
Yep, when you have those big wholesale stores, right?
Their minds are made up to scuttle on back to the lands of the sods, but first a quick trip into the beastly bastion of capitalism before them. And I find it really sweet that they hold hands on the way in. We don't see...
No, I thought that this was sweet because, you know, they're getting older. Sometimes things that might be new and exciting for some are new and confusing for others.
that level of affection in public from Hank like ever, so yeah, I like that.
I didn't even think about that. No, Hank isn't one for PDA. So the fact that he's just doing this out in public is... I guess we could consider it like character development, but I don't know if we could go that far with it.
Then we get to the end, and I'm not big on how the episode wrapped up. A lot of people agree with me on that. A lot of people loved it. Some people chose to call me an idiot or stupid, or many different versions of condescending terms for being less than intelligent.
Oh,
I'm still
Lord.
not a huge fan of it. It just feels rushed to make a snap decision that quick. But if you liked it, that's totally cool. The Hills are stopped by some Girl Scouts selling cookies, where Hank expects them to be changed like everything else and be gluten-free in addition to being outrageously priced. But he's corrected and told that they offer both and that they're cheaper than Hank expected. That's the right way to do it, by the way. Not replacement, but addition. Offer both. There's plenty of room for Peter Parker and Miles Morales. They ask about
No shit.
a box of Samoas, and I have an issue with this part.
They're just called Caramel Delights now. It's more respectful to people from Samoa.
So the little girl claims that they're now called Caramel Delights because it's disrespectful to Samoan people to call them Samoas. Yeah, no, that is very much incorrect. Alright, Girl Scout cookies are made by two
Okay, so I don't really keep up with Girl Scout cookie related things, so I don't really know the history behind the name of Samoas. I know about the island of Samoa, so
different companies, and Little Brownie Bakers, the originator and trademark holder for the cookie named Samoa, is one of them. When the Girl Scouts brought in other companies to also produce cookies, they couldn't legally call them Samoas, so they called them Caramel Delights. This was done
Oh, so there was some misinformation here. I mean, you don't always have to get it right.
in order to be more descriptive and enticing. It has nothing to do with wrestling families and everything to do with trademarks. Also,
Right. Oh, no, I just remembered. Yeah, who was it? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is Samoan.
Caramel Delights and Samoas are not the same thing. They're
Oh.
alike, but are not the same. Trust me,
Really?
you ask any Girl Scout cookie enthusiast, and they will straight up fistfight somebody over saying otherwise.
Oh,
Some
good
folks are crazy
Lord.
like that. Anywho,
I can imagine.
I get the point of her completely and utterly made-up story told with such a level of conviction that it's true. Again, it's completely BS, but it's a nice sentiment, and the idea of it being nice to be nice is very, very true. The world could use a lot more people being nicer to each other. They then start conversations and share cookies with other people passing by, and suddenly decide that even though the town may have changed, the people haven't, and maybe it's just best to stay. Again, I get the sentiment. To me, it just kind of felt rushed, like much of this episode, but also again, to defend being rushed, they had a lot to set up. And we end the episode with the new opening credits that had...
Oh yeah, something that I had mentioned as I was watching that scene in particular with the Girl Scouts was that it seemed that the overall theme and message of the video is that even though a lot of things change, there are some things that just don't change. And personally, I think that's and I thought that it was an interesting message.
Previously been released. So, The Return of the King. I gave my immediate thoughts earlier, and I gave the episode a 5 out of 10. That was just a happy coincidence, by the way, and after rewatching it multiple more times, yeah, I'm sticking with a 5 out of 10. There weren't a whole lot of good jokes. This episode honestly seems to exist just to reestablish the hills in Arlen, to get us up to speed on what everyone else is up to, and not really much else. The rest of the season picks up quite a bit. The jokes are funnier, the episodes are better. And if you're not a huge fan of this episode, I implore you to keep going because it's worth it to just sally forth.
Isn't that how people feel about BoJack Horseman, where the first few episodes were kind of whatever, but then it just gets really good afterwards?
It totally makes sense after seeing this episode as to why they chose to release the entire season at once rather than drip feeding it weekly, because this was not a great first step, and boy howdy, the fandom would have been even more divided if they had just released this episode and stepped back to watch the fires burn like Nero with his fiddle. Yes, I know fiddles weren't invented yet, it probably was a liar, but you get the point. In a lot of ways, the world has changed, both for the better and the worse, but in a lot of ways, it is still the same. Baby's still the same. And ultimately, that was the message I took from this episode. Things change, but it's...
Yeah, that was the message that I took from the episode as well.
all right. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see y'all next time.
I was kind of surprised, but whatever. To each their own, I guess. That was a great recap. I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was I'm not one of those overly critical type of people when it comes to cartoons and stuff. I just want to watch them and enjoy them and just give the commentary and notes as I so please, right? So I'm not going to be overly critical at this, but yeah, I can't wait to watch the rest of the season. I can imagine that it's gonna be quite a sight to behold. I've already watched, as you saw, I watched episode 1, and I watched the second episode with about Hank and Bobby basically entering a beer competition. And yeah, I can't wait to watch the rest of the season. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys go watch Squirrel's original video and then come back and do the same. And thanks for watching.